right, guys, I think we'll just go ahead tonight, and since I know a lot of questions and a lot more players, we'll just let you initiate the questions, and we'll do the answers for you.
Stephen, I don't know, the other day you said going into this draft you really felt there were no musts as far as positions that had to be filled. But coming out the first 2 days with an offensive lineman, a receiver, pass rushing in, can you just talk about getting those three positions, and does that open it up for you even more going into tomorrow?
I think no question. I mean, obviously those were areas where we could use help. I wouldn't call them must, but I do think we certainly felt like we could use help in those areas, and we didn't know what order, you would address them. You're wanting to take the guys on your board that are, at the time or fit that position, and it's kind of fallen right for us, and it's very interesting. We were looking at, three positions there with that second pick, and then one went away, and then we still had two left. So we made what we thought was the pick that was in our best interest. But so far, I will say that, the draft's fallen in a good place for us. I think we've improved our football team in those three areas, which were obviously areas that we, if you were going to target three areas, that'd be three areas you'd pick. And the good news is we still got a lot of work to do. We've got a 4 and 4 5s and a 6. So most of the work still left to be done, and I think we can really help our football team. We've helped it up to this point. We can certainly do a lot of good, chop a lot of wood, and do a lot of good work going forward.
Jerry, Sam had a sexual battery charge against him from his time at Ole Miss. He was briefly suspended. What in your all's due diligence on that made you feel comfortable with him as a pick?
Well, I'm sure you're familiar with what the details of the published details of, but we looked thoroughly into all of the allegations. As you well know, it was aired out real good there at Ole Miss, and but once they were satisfied that where he was, then he came back and joined the team. We have spent a lot of time because we've had an keen interest in him, and we spent a lot of time talking with a lot of people that know him real close and also from a distance, and we're very satisfied that we're good with this pick.
You said you had a keen interest in him there. Sky Moore and Trey McBride were tumbling toward you there. Would it have been a decision if one or the other had been there for you when you took Sam Williams in the second round? Or
well, again, we really we had him in, as you know, one of our visits, and he had a lot of high grades and a lot of want to among both coaches and scouts to have him as a part of our team, both from the standpoint of his skills and his attitude toward competing and what he could bring to the team. And he really was in the early process over the last few weeks, as well as again today, because the day was decision time. He was aired out really well. We're really proud to have him.
You said you had a keen interest in him throughout the process. Was that from skills, from the need of a pass rusher? Where did that keen interest come from, and what was the source of that?
Well, I think a pass rusher is a premium. A pressure player is a premium, and we think that first and foremost, he's a terrific player and a potential terrific pro as a player, and then he's. I'll let Coach speak to it, but he's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of personality, and we think that's a real positive for his play as well as the people around him's play. So he brings a lot to the table. But we thoroughly investigated those allegations and are completely satisfied that those are well within our comfort level.
How much of the 30 visits for both you and Mike play a part in you guys wanting to see him face to face to answer those questions himself?
I'm going to let Mike speak for him. He had got acquainted with him before the 30 visits, I believe. Yeah. So, but let's let Mike talk about that. But I will tell you right now, my visits with him, and my visits, I've talked to people that know him, with him there, and you got a lot more than Sam. Just Sam wanting him to be a great NFL and Cowboy football player. And he's got a lot of people that are on his team that are really high quality people, substantive people, and so you're getting a pretty good package when you get Sam, in my mind.
Mike, kind of stepping back, what's your philosophy on guys with potential character issues kind of through your years as a coach and the question of drafting them and the things that go along with that?
Well, I think it's always important to step back, and I think particularly in Sam's case, I mean, as you go through the draft process every year, there's so many players that are impressionable, and I think the two interactions and with Sam, first being at the pro day, watching him interact and having a chance to talk to a number of people, Monty Kiffin, and I mean, there's so many resources over there, and frankly, to see how he interacted with everybody, whether it's teammates and how everybody went to bat for him, and then also bringing him in on a 30 visit. Sam made a big impression on all of us, and I think the thing that I appreciated the most is his honesty, his vulnerability that he expressed, going through his history, and because if we're just talking pure football about what he, the work that he did on the field and the video that he put together in his career there at the SEC, I think that speaks for itself. So like Jerry's already stated, it was thorough, but I thought he made a big impression. I know he personally made a big impression on me in both those encounters. And I think just like your point to your question, I think philosophy, I think time in this league teaches you patience to make sure you look at the personal component the best you can and trust your professional process of, the personnel and the coaching and stick to that. But so I've always looked at it individually, because I think just like anything in this game, if you get into stereotypes and tendencies, you have a chance to probably make more mistakes than not.
Will, can you detail just the football traits of both players that were selected today, just kind of what stood out over the course of the scouting process?
Both players selected today. Well, with Sam, as been said, it's a pass rusher. In the NFL, I mean, the passing numbers have gone up. You have to get pressure on the quarterback, or you have a guy that's got wide receiver speed. He's got length, the strength, and knows how to rush the passer, as well as play the run. They had him in different spots at Mississippi State early on, and they figured out, let's put his hand down on the edge, let's let him rush, and then to be productive in the SEC, that was a real strong positive force, and then getting to see him and know who he is, that also added to it. And then with Jalen Tolbert, it's a wide receiver that can play multiple spots. He's got size, he's extremely intelligent, and the type of player that you want to grow in that room because of his intelligence, his relationship that he's formed already with the quarterback from the conversation, and those sort of things. And you think that the upside is there because he's an NFL-style receiver, body style, size, ability to find space, to play inside and outside, so that versatility made him very attractive to us.
You guys told us yesterday when you guys were looking at Tyler Smith that you looked at Oklahoma State, Ohio State, the bigger schools. With Tolbert, how much did you look at the Tennessee game and, hey, here's what he did against an SEC school? Is that a big part of the evaluation?
That's a part of it, and we watch all of it. And through the process, we'll have different guys watch it at different phases, so you get different vantage points from periods and times, and different people look at it. So we felt good about who they played against, as well as watching him in the Senior Bowl against top competition. And then when you visit with him and you find out his intelligence and his awareness to coverage and all the different things that he knows, he shows that he's further ahead than maybe somebody from a smaller conference.
How important was it for Dak to kind of get with him a little bit before the draft?
That was for me. That was a Dak thing. It was the importance of him to the organization, and he reached out and said, "Hey, here's some guys to do your thing with," because we're 50 plus years old here, and we have an impression and feeling about them, and the guys that are in the locker room also pick up tendencies and things, and it was important for a great person like him to reach out to these guys and give us you give me his feedback.
You guys asked him to reach out to, I mean, you didn't know if you were going to be able to take him, but the fact that he's reaching out to guys is a good omen or something like that. Or you got a feeling that he was coming here?
Can't tell you that, man. That's big time
It's,
inside information there.
It's the sauce, baby.
But I mean,
He's a tremendous resource. So. What's that?
He's calling.
You gonna have a quarterback call a receiver 2 days before the draft and go for what he could be.
I took Troy Aikman,
Flew him.
took my plane, had him go down and personally work out, throw balls, work out with LaFleur. Then I had him go out to California and Gonzalez, throw balls, do all that kind of stuff, flew him around. Got a feel for Troy, got a feel for him doing those kinds of things. But Will, I want to ask you this question. You mentioned something about we're 50 and we might need to get a better feel. What were you alluding to there? Age is a problem with this shit?
No, sir. No, I mean, it's just we listen to different music, and I don't know how to operate Twitter, whatever that stuff is. So,
TikTok.
Well, it never crosses my mind. The reason I hang out with all you guys is I don't look in the mirror, and it makes me think I'm your age. So let's don't get this.
I feel like I'm your age after the process.
Yeah, look at it.
There were like 5 pass rushers, edge rushers that went before you took Williams, and then a couple after that. Were you concerned about your ability to get him? Were you looking to move up if he was a guy you wanted to get, or how was that unfolding?
I mean, we like some of the pass rushers that went, but I wouldn't say we like them any more than Sam. You're obviously getting a feel for that, and comes as no surprise these pass rushers are gone. I mean, I think the last one, can't talk about other teams' players, but the Western Kentucky pass rusher was another one, kind of the last one we had after Sam that we liked. And but you got to step up and get those guys early because they're going to go. That's our business is getting pressure on the passer. Makes everything work better on the back end, everywhere on defense when these guys rush well. So. As Jerry said, we went through a thorough process. We felt good about it and felt good about taking Sam.
Mike, punt returner, is that an area where you feel like Jalen Tolbert could factor in as you guys get your answer there, or is that maybe not? Is he a factor of that spot?
We'll see. Yeah, I mean that's something to work through. I really like Jalen's position flex. I think anytime. I know personally, looking at receivers, that's the first thing I'm always looking for. I think it's important for particularly perimeter players to be able to do 2 things, whether it's play inside, outside, returnability, ability to go in the backfield. We'll obviously look at all those things when he gets here.
There's a lot of scrutiny on players' character, especially if they have an issue in college, especially in the media. Have you guys changed your approach in doing your investigations in the last couple of years about just making sure that you're getting the right type of guy in your building?
Well, the standards are the sensitive things. Now, good people are good people, and bad people, you might say, have their issues. But we're looking with a more intense evaluation about issues that involve social issues than 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And what this has done is it has really, in many areas of behavior and character, boy, it has gotten laser intense in looking. In other words, the players have been more scrutinized because the rules they're coming from are more rigid in my mind. And so it causes everyone, it's a good thing, it has caused everyone to really sharpen your not investigation, but sharpen your evaluation of just exactly where and how this young man has gotten here. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And so he just has a higher standard in my mind coming through. I mentioned last night that I don't take the risk probably that I took early. One of the reasons is I don't have to. The risks are the kinds of things that you might have should have been looking for 20, 30 years ago, you're not even turning the lights on if you don't look for that. And so to sum it up, I'm confident when we know about a young man today coming in here that, boy, we've covered the ground and we've got it all out there. Now, okay, after having seen it all out there, we drafted Sam. And I'm confident we've got everything.
This kind of relates to the first question and the three positions. Those are also the positions with kind of the high-profile losses from the offseason, Randy, Amari, et cetera. Is it just kind of coincidental that it was those three spots, or did you really feel like with the personnel losses that kind of heightened the importance of those three spots?
No, I think that's fair, very fair. I mean, when you lose good players, I mean, we not only lost Amari, we lost Sed. Obviously, we lost Randy, and feel really good about Fowler and DA, and that's going to be great. But you can't have enough of these big guys that can put pressure, and you want to keep them fresh, and you want to keep them coming, and so that was critical. And obviously, in the offensive line, we've as you move along, and some of these guys, start to get some years on them, then they are going to miss some time. That's part of our game, and what we'd love to do is keep these young offensive linemen coming, and I think we're doing that with a Connor McGovern, with a Biotic, with a Terrence Steele, with a Ball, and now Tyler Smith. I think you got to keep those guys coming, and I think it'll pay dividends for us. At the same time, I think those young guys are going to learn a lot from Tyron Smith and from Zach Martin. I think it's a big deal. So I don't think it's by accident that that turned out where we ended up picking. The good news is there's some really good players there, and you just had to sort out where the groupings were going to fall. And as I said, we're not done yet. I mean, we're going to feel good about what's left out there on the board, and feel good where our picks sit, and feel like we can really, as well as we feel like we've done improving our football team, really feel like there's some great opportunities tomorrow to continue to do that in terms of our process.
Mike, what kind of influence is it when Dan Quinn puts the guy through a workout like he did with Sam at Ole Miss?
Kind of influence?
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing is to be right there, and there was two D linemen working out that day, and then 3 minutes into the workout it was all Sam. So yeah, so it definitely it's part of it, and you get to get your hands on it, feel Sam in the drills, and I know personally, being there that day, I mean he was extremely impressive. So you see the talent on film, but we were talking about it earlier. I think it's a lot like quarterbacks. Unless you stand next to them and feel the velocity and see the ball come out of their hand, you truly don't really know. So, and Dan running the drill that day was obviously a benefit.
Because you have so many picks tomorrow, is there a need from other teams to maybe intensify their calls with you to see if you're willing to trade? It's because they know you have a little more capital?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I think, obviously people look at it and they'll say, well, maybe they're willing to, part with some of those picks because you could move up, and, if you have 4 or 5s, are you willing to do that? We look at that when we're looking to move up. Hey, they got 2 up there early, maybe they'll part with 1 up. So, there's opportunities maybe to move down and pick up more picks, or we may decide to, depending on who, when we're through with our meetings tonight and in the morning, we may decide to go get somebody. We've got to work through all that. But I think we are in my opinion, and we're going through this after we pick tonight, we're in the meat of the draft, in our opinion. I mean, our biggest rounds were the 4th and 5th round in terms of numbers that we have in those rounds. So, you want to be careful because I think there's going to be good players there throughout the draft in those 4th and 5th rounds. And I think, but between Will and his staff and Mike and his coaching staff, they've done a great job, in Jerry and I's opinion, of getting the board stacked the right way. And boy, there's players in there that we would feel great about having a star on their helmet and bringing in here and being a part of our football team.
Jalen's talking to us and said that he feels like he's really kind of a deeper type threat in terms of his route tree. I was kind of curious how you guys view his route tree and what they see provide at different levels of the offense.
Well, I think the biggest thing you want to answer this? I think the biggest thing, you see him run all the routes. He has the vertical routes, a lot of crossing routes. And as I said earlier, he definitely has inside and outside receiver flex, so that tells you that he can run the whole route tree. So his work ethic is something that I know particularly Robert Prince was very impressed with. So I think he'll be a full complement receiver for us.
Is that by design? Just if you look at James Washington, he really stretches the field, and now with Jalen, he can do that as well. Is that just the way things kind of fell, or is that very much by design?
Well, I think you got to recognize the fact that we play on AstroTurf a lot, and you'd never have enough speed when you're playing on that surface as much as we do.
Mike, Will was talking about Sam facing SEC talent, but when you can see Sam specifically face Evan Neal and Charles Cross, who both went in the top 10 of the draft earlier this year and do pretty well in that, does that just speak even more volumes, obviously, about what he can do?
Absolutely, and you look at the numbers that he put up. So, my first exposure was watching him in Will's office, and he jumps off the film. This is not a football question. We were fortunate to get him in the second round based off of his performance on video. So, and I think all the other questions have been answered. But yeah, he's got big time elite pass rush ability, and he's played against top competition and was extremely productive.
Stephen, can you talk about your philosophy? Maybe it's changed over the years about using some day 3 picks for veteran players. Maybe the guys that can help immediately. Is that something that's changed over the years?
We seem to find that right now it's not the right time to shop for the veteran player. Occasionally you get an opportunity. Obviously yesterday was an eye-opener. I think that was, it kind of set a new standard in terms of players trading hands for big picks. Surprising to me, eye-opening to me. So who knows? Tomorrow maybe could be interesting in terms of who people might be shopping and what might happen in the later rounds. We've always felt like, right in the middle of the draft, trying to trade a player is usually you're going to take a big discount in terms of trading one of our veteran players for a pick right now because people are so fired up about a pick. We always have thought if you wait till after the draft's over and you're talking about a next year's pick, you might do better trading that veteran then. But like I said, player. I don't want to beat a dead horse to death, but player acquisition's a whole lot of ways to do it, and it is year round. And I just think we'll continue to keep our eyes wide open. Right now, we're focused on what we have tomorrow, which are 6 big picks, and we're really going to help our football team. And we'll focus on the draft tomorrow. If something different comes up, then we've got all the right people in the room to address it. We got all hands on deck, and we'll make a decision.
What's the art of patience like in the drafts, where you don't trade up, you kind of let it come to you, and just kind of stay calm in that room? What's that like in terms of managing whatever emotions could be wrapped up in that?
Total boredom and then instant chaos.
That's well said.
Boredom all day, and then all of a sudden it just all hell breaks loose. And get in there, and it is amazing because sometimes you're dealing with 4-second to 20-second decisions, and that much. Sometimes you're dealing with a timing thing on the clock, and you're sort of dealing with competition. So it really is hard to anticipate when you're going to be ready to really get it all working at the same time. We've got it down pretty good. Stephen has worked out with some of the other people in the financial department, contract department, which is also very involved in rating the value of draft picks and what have you. So he's got 2 or 3 of his assistants, and they've got headphones on. Well, you can't hear what they're hearing. And so that's kind of hard to do when all of a sudden they've been sitting there listening to some things and what have you, and they look over and said, well, should we take this or take that? And I said, well, I'd kind of like to know what the hell y'all talking about with that right there. Well, that takes another 5 minutes, and you didn't have but 6 to begin with to explain it to me on how to get it going.
We've gotten better at it,
We've
though.
gotten better, and we've gotten better, but I will tell you, it's getting high tech in this area of how to make these trades. But it's a time that really has high value. When it has high value, you can really help your football team by making a trade. And so you want to have that, and you really don't know until that phone rings and you get on and you weigh it, and then you might not know. Stephen was on the phone with a guy last night, and he said, well, we might make it if we knew you wouldn't take our player. And he said, tell us who you're going to take. And he said, I can't do this, but it'll either be defense or offense. But I can give you that much information. Now, so it is a time that's very much part of the draft, has become very much part of the draft. This was not a part of the draft. Trades were made, but not like this, as late or as far back as 1990, 91. It was not. And then you got in, and the sheet was developed by my great partner who's not with us anymore, Mike McCoy, and who was a certified genius, and he developed that ratio of the trades that had been made and how the draft picks, and put that ratio together. It's the standard of the NFL today. Well, that set a new level of activity on draft day, and there's no question that's when that really took on that level of activity during the draft. But at the end of the day, I will tell you, it's just you've got to count on some instincts, and I really would say it. The instincts are you've got to understand how bad you're going to feel if you miss that player, and just try to think through, can you live without not having that player? If you can't live without it, then you better go get him. And then you better get on the phone, and you better try to overpay for him, because that's what you're going to do if you think you're going to want that particular player. And so there's a whole part of that trading activity that has to do with sitting here and talking to Mike, or talking to Dan, or talking to Kellen, going back over there, asking Will to go back and review what some of the scouts have told him about it, because you just got to make sure on that basis, at that price. It's one thing to have sat there and seen that evaluation when you're getting ready to put him on the board, okay? That's like hitting a golf ball. You can do that by putting him in where he should be slotted on the board. That's standing still. But it's hitting a curve ball that's the challenge on draft day. And so the curveballs are coming at you, and you've got to have looked at that evaluation in light of what you're getting ready to pay or trade for. And then you've got to just say, is that worth it to our team? We're giving up 2 players to get 1. Is that ultimately worth it? And there, right before we walked in this room, we had that conversation for 35 minutes here tonight on tomorrow, whether or not we might be interested in giving up 2 players for 1, using some of those 5s to get that done. But all of that has got to come in with the reality of what have you. Mike Tyson said there's a lot of people that can box and do a good job boxing until they get hit in the nose. That's when you learn if you can box. And so that has a lot of truism when it comes to, and it's just not trading on draft day. It's just, if you will, it's business. It's making your mind up when the heat's on.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.